over the internet, people talk or devices talk in XML or JSON. Okay, so XML or JSON are nothing but it's you can say it as a sign language, language where devices everyone talks. How an XML or JSON would look, JSON file would be like them, like this. So this is sort of XML, okay, and this is a JSON format, okay. So they will be in this format, and every devices in this world talk in either XML or JSON, okay. So basically, the ARM portal itself as well, like whatever the means, like yesterday we talked about Powershell, Rest API, or via SDKs or via CLI. So at the end of the day, everything would be XML calls to Azure, and internally in Azure it would be partial calls, and things would be getting interacted. And what happens is, like, whenever you try to make certain templates like them, okay, so you can see these templates, they can be reusable. Like this is something it has something like a context or something, right? So you can replace these values with any other variables or other things. So JSONs or XML are like mostly they are very reusable kind of scripts you can use. And what you can do is, like, you can define dependencies and resource deployment order. You can, like, scripts you can write, and those scripts you can trigger it around according to priority, something like that. And I said about RBAC or role-based access control, which is available on ARM portal. And the billing thing, and what are the individual resource billing, everything which I have shown in that using certain APIs which were like websites I have shown, right? The same thing you can do, you can check out in the Azure portal as well, resource wise, the usage, everything. And this is about the resource groups. So whenever you use ARM portal or the new portal, you need to remember what are resource groups, or you need to place resources under resource group, whether it's a virtual machine or a document DB or a web app or a SQL database or Azure resource group, any resources which are available, across region also, you can put them in a single resource group or a single bundle. And what are the benefits of resource group is, you can have billing integration, like you can tag these resources and put in a single resource group. And if you have something called as financial application, okay, you can tag these all resources and the financial tags or resource groups. And the same you can generate report. Okay, when you generate report, whatever subscription you would be having 10,000 of resources on Azure, so you can have the report generated, like financial vertical, how much they are using, what is a consumption from a cloud practice perspective, what is a customer hosted, like if I have Intel customer for me, then what are their resources, because I can have tags, right, which we can tag with the billing thing. So I can have certain individual reports as well easily, but which was not there with the previous portal. So these are some points which I have striked out, saying that which are available on not available on ASM, but which are available on ARM. Go through them, and we'll have something as this ARM templates. Okay, so whatever resources you need to create, right? Defaultly, these resources, you want to create a virtual machine with having multi-NIC VM, or a VM with Linux or Ubuntu flavor on it. So you can just go to quickstart templates, and you have around 500 to 600 templates, Azure ASM template, which you can install or directly deploy to Azure. So let's go and try deploying one such certain template. Is like, let's create a simple Windows VM with ARM template. So these templates are nothing but they are JSON files. Okay, so this would be very simple deployment of a Windows VM. This would just will spin up A2 size VM. So instead of me going to portal and selecting the create a virtual machine. I'll show you up the other way as well. Let's create a VM with this particular method. So what would you can visualize what exactly is going to happen, what resources it's going to create. This, I mean, certain, like when I started my career, we didn't had something like this kind of UIs where you can see what you're spinning up. So whatever JSON you have, right, the JSON would spinning up. Uh, it would be showing up this content. Okay. So what kind of VM it would be, creating variables, VM name. It will create a virtual machine. It will have a VPN gateway. It will have a NIC interface card, NIC. It will have two NIC cards here. Okay, since it's a A2 machine, you will have available of two NICs, and you will have VNet. This VM would be part of VNet, and the VM would be having a public IP that's called as my public IP. Will have an IP address behind it, and the VMs are stored in a this VMs whatever VMs you will be having, the VHDs would be storing in a storage account. I'll let you know the architecture, like how behind Azure, like if I have this particular desktop, right? It's running on a hardware, okay, and it has an image or operating system, okay. So that operating system with this, we can call it as VHD, okay, VHDX formats, and these VHDs, they actually reside in a storage account. For every VM which is spinning on Azure, have a VHD behind it, and the VHD goes and sits in a particular storage accounts. Okay, and I'll let you know the architecture, how exactly or where exactly these VHDs are stored in tomorrow sessions or in our next module section. So our script now would, it would try to spin up a VM with these all devices on it. Okay. I'll go back. I'll go back to the quickstart template. I'll open the new tab, visualize, and I'll just click see it. So these are all our JSON files. I'll show you what are the content in this JSON file. It would be certain simple language. It will have details like it will try to take a username, password, everything when you try to deploy. Okay, so everything it will populate. It will have everything, every parameter is defined, like A2 machine we would be spinning up. So every parameter regarding the network or VNet which we need to create, okay, it will go and directly hit the Azure Portal, and it would say that please provide all these parameters. I'll just click deploy to Azure. It will go to Azure myportal.azure.com. It's asking the sign in, and this is OAuth authentication. I'll let you know in future what is OAuth authentication. This is OAuth 2. Select my subscription. I'm just left out with $60 rupees in my account. That's why I was not able to spin up the VM earlier. I'm just spinning the VM for your demo. So I just landed to portal.azure.com, and this is my ID, the Azure guy ID. It had authenticated me via AID. You can check that. And the template, you can see that Microsoft templates, and it came from the GitHub, and it just shows up this template. You can just add up whatever details if you want, like if you want to select a new resource group. Yes, as I talked about a resource group, I was saying about a resource group. What exactly is a resource group? Resource group can have resources, okay, can collect, it's a collection of resources. So we'll be giving a resource group name, and I'll create in Southeast Asia. This is my password, admin username and password, which I had, DNS label prefix also you can give. Unique DNS for the public IP. So you can give a unique name as well. Otherwise, let's try giving the Azure guy VM. Hopefully I can give caps. No, it's not allowing caps. Yes, it's allowed. So what kind of Windows version you want? So I can have 2012 data center, 2016 data center. Let's go with 2008 to SP1. Yeah, I agree with the terms. Because I have selected something called as templates from outside, I have not gone through this particular, button, add button. So that's why it's asking the purchase agreement. Just go and purchase. So this purchase, if you're going for any Linux or other machines which are, are enterprise versions of the Linux or Ubuntu, you would be charged, and those are extra charges. Even those would not be covered under your free resources for like free credits what you have. And once the VM would come up here, okay, so that was a partial way or template way of deploying resources. So another way is you can go directly to the portal and try to create the same. Go to compute, try to select Windows 2012 R2. Let's select R2, and you need to provide all the details. Azure guy VM 1. You can select solid state drive or hard disk and SSD for more performance. Basically to get more IOPS. IOPS are input output per second. IOPS basically would mean like what is the traffic which can go into your VM and how much is the traffic which can come out of the VM. That is IOPS. And the same thing like you can create your username, password, give all your details. Since I have already triggered for creating a resource group, already test RG is there. Just select that, you spin up the same VM here. And this is one more thing, like if you have a license of this particular Windows Server R2, okay, and this license if you already have in on-prem and you just want to spin up one VM here on Azure, then you can print that particular license and you just click it yes, and you can give the it will prompt for license, and you can just give your license, so that there won't be a license cost. License cost would be waived off because you have already paid for license to Microsoft. It would be waived off while running this particular VM. So the bringing out the license from on-prem to Azure is something called as BYOD, or something called as the full form is bring your own device kind of concept. And I don't have license, I just click no, and I click OK, and here's some machine selection. Since for HDD or normal hard disk, I have these all options available. The bare minimum size which is available is A0 basic, which would be costing me 885 rupees. It's one core like that, and these are the IOPS. You can check the IOPS, and the data disk or the external drive which you will be having would be only one data disk. So for example, what are data disk? If you ask me, it's nothing but your drives. So in this particular system, I have around 2 drives, right? 3 drives. This is extra memory card, and these are 2 drives. The same thing will happen, here in Azure, you will have one OS disk and one data disk. So OS disk is a disk where you have your OS installed, so that's default. And this would be another one data disk or secondary disk which you'll be. I'll just select this, and there's something called as managed disk kind of concept which actually recently introduced few weeks back. So what it happens is manage disk is, I have selected a disk right now, right? So it says a one disk, okay? So these disks, have a limited size. So for me, you can check out, this has something like 69, it's around 70 GB disk partition. After disk partition, I have this particular disk, and this disk size can't grow more than 70 GB. Okay, but with the managed disk kind of concepts, so before managed disk, there was something called as unmanaged disk. I mean, when there was no term of managed disk, there was just disk concepts. So disk concepts were coming up with limited capacity. And something, if a person is running an application on a server and he can, fill up this particular disk at a very rapid speed rather than he expects. So for that only we have something called as managed disks. So what managed disk would do, like it would give you unlimited capacity of the size. The managed disk would give you unlimited capacity, and the managed disks are basically managed by Azure itself. You doesn't need to bother about whether the size grows or the performance lowers or something. That Azure would take care. And every VM which I create should be a part of a virtual network, and virtual network would have subnets. So indirectly, every VM which is on Azure should be part of a subnet indirectly. So I have a virtual network, like I have created something called as mynet. Okay, I'll just keep this as part of that particular mynet. I have created resource group, right? I have created via template, so that's already created. So it would be part of this particular subnets. We'll talk about in our networking sessions in module 3 about what are virtual networks, what are subnets. So for now, I'll just go and just directly, like in previous template, I have given my name that public IP address would recognize, and this would be dynamic or static IPs. The IP would be, what is dynamic or static IP would be, like you have DNS, Azure DNS. So Azure DNS would be allocating IPs to VM. Okay, we saw, right, like this is a VM which we created, and this VM, how actually a VM would be recognized over the internet. It would be recognized over an IP. Okay, and to that IP you can give some certain names and register with the DNS a DNS guy, and he will give you a name. So if IP of this particular machine is 1.0.0.1, which is not possible, it would be like around 192.0.0.8 or something, and that particular IP would be mapped to NICs, machine NICs. So this is my VM NIC, which is already created, and we have selected the template, right? For that, it had created with a single NIC. It created a my VNet. It created a my public IP, and this is the storage account where actually the VHD is residing. All of the Azure VMs which would run would boot up from a VHD. Okay, and the VHD sits in a storage account. So that's why you would have heard in the past, like there were a lot of outages happened on Azure, and most of the outages were due to storage. I'll let you know in future, like why that issues were happening. Okay, what was the disadvantage of the class 1 type or type 1 type storages which we had. I'll just create this. I'll click on this particular VM. Let's see what kind of details come. Before that, let's go and trigger this particular. We talked about static or dynamic IP. We'll come more about in networking sessions, and we can have extensions where we can install agents on your machine, which can give out health of your virtual machine as well. You will have something called a high availability set. I'll let you know in virtual machine modules, and you have monitoring, boot diagnostics enabled, guest OS diagnostic, everything I'll be explaining. I'll just go click OK, and it would do certain validation on the names and availability of VMs of this particular image or not. So whenever I selected, Windows 2012 R2, what it do, it would go and, fetch an image from Azure Marketplace, which we talked about in the starting Azure Marketplace, what it is. And these are the prices per hour. It would be, one rupee. And let's purchase this. So let's see, we have triggered our previous deployment. Yes, I can see my resources, my VM got created. Okay, this is my VM. And this is standard A2, which we have deployed via template. Template had the A2 one. It has 2 cores, so it would be having 2 NICs at least. And this is the details. You can the agent inside our virtual machine would be giving out these all details. The agent continuously checks out the CPU, the network, and the disk bytes, how much bytes are getting transferred, or what is the read write operations happening on it, and disk operations per second. And every time, every within microseconds, it will give you plot all the details, and you can without logging into VM or without opening your task manager. Okay, I need to go to like my if this is a virtual machine, I need to go and check out my performance, right? CPU, memory, network, everything, right? Ethernet, and the same thing, it's available on your dashboard. You doesn't need to log into your system to know what is the status or how it is running. You can go and daily get 1 hour data, or you can get 30 days of data. How, for past 30 days, how it ran, whether this particular virtual machine, which I have hosted on Azure, by leaving on-prem, whether it's working fine or not. Okay, and these are the network interface cards. This is my VM NIC, and you can see the size. And one more thing, beautiful thing about Azure is, you can increase the cores at any moment. You can increase you are at A2 VM. You can go to 3.5 GB RAM VMs or 14 GB RAM VMs, D3, D2 as well, in within a seconds. But if you would have stayed on an on-prem, you can't do these things, because you have some physical limits. So far, you can restart this particular VM by clicking here. So you can stop it. You can capture a state of VM, like what exactly it's running, or at this particular state, you can capture it, or you can move. When you move, it will capture a VHD, and you can move to a new subscription or new region as well. And let me say about the resource groups. So you can see these are the resource groups. The first template which we created in test RG, and the second as well. Just let's go to test RG, and this is the resource group. Okay, and under this resource group, we have complete set of VMs which we have created. We have created the Azure Guy VM and the Azure Guy VM 1. And select types. You can you can sort it by VMs, or so you have the Azure Guy VM 1, and you too have the Azure Guy VM as well into it. So for connecting it is simply like you need to go and connect, but we'll talk about this in virtual machine sections. I just wanted to show you what are test RG. If you want to know what happens if I delete complete a resource group, it should delete all of the content which is there in this particular resource group. It will delete everything. It would delete my disks which are available. So I said about disk, right? We have selected A0, so we get a disk, and the OS disk is by default, and we have two storage accounts which are created because the virtual machines which run, right? These 2 virtual machines are there. These 2 virtual machines will have their VHCs in these particular 2 storage accounts. And since I have selected a single virtual network, that's why we have only single virtual network here, but the public IPs are different. Let's go and delete this. What it do? It would do delete complete resource group, which means that it would be deleting all of the resources which are part of this particular resource group. That's a simple way of deleting resources on Azure in a single click. So what we tried is we tried to deploy deploy to Azure using templates. So go check out that templates which we have opened. Okay. So like this, you can try a lot of templates which are available. It's not only about Windows VM. You can try to you can run up containers, Dockers, Kubernetes, or even Swarm servers or scale sets, each and everything on Azure by simply selecting these particular templates. So previously, when these templates were not there, we used to write these particular JSON, the lengthy JSONs, um, JSONs or partial scripts for this, and we used to trigger, or we used to give these particular JSONs to customer, and customer used to run this, create 1,000 VMs with a single templates like this. But now they have made it easy. They have everybody contribute. They write their own JSON templates and they contribute to this particular GitHub community over this. At this branch, Azure Quickstart templates. So when I click that particular virtual machine in this particular, arm which, like I have clicked on this, right? You can see that JSON format of that particular VM. So as I said, everything is in devices or Azure. Every platform talks in XML. So this is a JSON format behind. XML or JSON are almost same. Don't get confused with them. Just it's a format which we write or script. It is difference. Okay, moving on to next. So we talked about this, and we can save these particular templates which we have created above, these templates which we have access. These templates can also be saved onto your Azure subscription, so that you can reuse them. You doesn't need to go to that Azure Quickstart template section, repository, and every time you save it, but you can save it directly onto your dashboard and click on your dashboard or give it to your customer. He can run it fine. And let's go for a small demo deploying resources using Quickstart templates and saving private templates. This is storage account create. Let's go. The same thing, what I'll do is I'll leave out this particular. I have shown you how to create a use a template and deploy it to Azure. You guys can go and trigger this one. Just click this link here. You will be going there and trigger this particular storage account. Create your storage account with the templates on in your own individual subscriptions, Azure subscriptions, what you have. So this we have already talked the REST APIs and something. But triggering Azure REST APIs, you basically need to have something called as something called as PostMan or something. PostMan, you need to have clients basically. Yesterday I shown, I have opened up Visual Studio, and then I have installed client SDKs and I ran the code, and that was triggering APIs, right? The same thing you can do via using Google plugins, and some plugin like as I have something called as PostMan. It's a web plugin. It's a Chrome plugin, and I'll go to the plugins. Plugin extensions. Yes, I have something called as PostMan. This is a REST client which actually triggers newest version. Okay. Let's search in this. So PostMan, what it would do is like it would just make a call, make REST calls, and these REST calls, like it would trigger call to Azure, okay, via REST URLs. I just go and I'll just launch this app, and I have that's a way to just APIs. These are the REST API collection which we have in GitHub, and even directly run the APIs from here. Okay, show hide. Like let me know what are the deployments, or like I have created a lot of VMs, right? So I can see what are the operations carried out in my account. So using this particular UI, right, something called as this project APIs, REST API, you can make calls using this REST APIs to Azure. This is just for testing, and I'll just try to authorize this over 2.0. I'll authorize so that I can make a call with this particular REST APIs. Let's try here. And let me click get. So this is get operation. So this is the REST API JSON format. I mean, I'll get a response like this. So you have your REST APIs like this application or JSON format. Start with OpenAPI. So OpenAPI is another project you just need to download, and you can call up this particular, and you can also use Swagger UI to make a calls. Instead of yesterday we created a client, we created a project and then we were making a REST API calls to the client. The same thing, you can download a Swagger UI or OpenAPI and trigger this, or you can have this test drive. This should work. It's not happening like this. What we can do, I'll just show you the Postman way. So this is a Postman, and what you do is like you just put the URL to which you need to make a call. You add headers. You will have basically content type application or JSON. If something is there in body, like you can send in the body. This is the post operation. That's why we have something in body. Okay, and this particular request was for Azure Functions, which I was working recently. And if I just need to make a get call, I just need to copy this particular things. I'll let you know this one tomorrow. Because I need to grab the URL and token everything, and then I'll just put it here and show you how you can make a call to Azure like this. And if you make a call, then you get some responses like this. Okay, for making call like this, you need to have something called as authorization token, which you will be having over 2.0. You will have this token placing here, and you can just make an authorized call to Azure. Let's go back to our slides. So that was REST API way of calling, and yesterday I had talked about Azure SDKs. And this is partial place where you can download and install everything if you have not installed till now. And if you have some Linux box or you are running from Mac OS, you can download your partial at here. And yeah, when you talk about Azure partials, right? Azure partials are like, like partial is basically like whatever you run on Azure, or whatever this particular PC is running. Everything at the kernel level, like the language which is talked, is partial. So that's what called as Windows partial we have. Okay, by Windows partial also we can trigger call to Azure with having that Azure partial modules. Okay, what I gonna have would be, like I'll have a partial open. Okay, I would rather use partial ISE instead of Windows partial. Okay, so basically this Windows partial ISE or Windows partial would be a default installation with your recent OS versions. So it doesn't need to bother. You can go and check you would be having your Windows Partial. But for using Azure Partial modules, or in order to get these Azure Partial modules, you need to run certain commands to get them. So I have my partial ISC open, and it would populate my partial modules, Azure partial modules, which are already there. Let this come up. Once it comes up, you will have my Azure partial modules here. So you can install your Azure partial modules by Web Platform Installer. This is Microsoft Web Platform Installer. You need to install this first, and everything related to SDKs or Visual Studio updates or patches, everything. Patches are done automatically, updates or other things. You can just go to Web Platform Installer and you can check what are the new updates available on your softwares. You know, this is about, you can have something Microsoft Azure SDK for .NET for Visual Studio 2017. Because I recently installed, that's why it's asking. And I can have something called as Microsoft Azure Partial. Okay, so this is Azure Partial. I'll just add, and I may also need for making a CLI calls. This is that one, Microsoft Azure cross-platform CLI tool. Okay, or if I want SDK for 2017, right, I can go and add this as well, and I just click install. So what it would do, it would try to install. Get the Azure SDKs, and I accept. I am trying to download Azure Partial, specific Azure Partial, for which I would be not needing. I don't need to install, like I had this Windows Partial, and I have installed these all Azure commandlet, whatever I have. You can see all of the commandlets. Okay, get Azure, this one, login Azure RM account is also a partial command or function, which is partial function, which is available in this Azure partial module. That's how, like, I can make a call. But without this, if you're not installing Azure partial module, you can't go ahead and trigger calls to Azure. So whatever functions which you can do on Azure or at the portal, you can do all these functions on the via partial mode, via partial. And you can check out, I'm having my Azure Partial installed. You can have either of your Azure Partial installed directly, or you can have your Windows Partial, just install your partial modules. That would be sufficient. And this is a basic basic command which I'd be running. Like after you install your partial modules, I have installed my partial modules. That's why I'll be able to run these particular commands. And this is, you can also do this after you install your Azure partial partial modules in your environment, and try to run this. If it is recognizing and it is not throwing in any red color error, then it this particular window for authorization to your Azure subscription, then you can confirm that, yeah, you have your Azure partial modules. I'll just go give my credentials so that this partial can run queries on my Azure account. Yes, it had authorized now. It should show up some details about my subscription. Yes, it is authenticated. And something called as Cloud Shell, I have default storage account, which is there on Azure as of now. So yes, this is the Cloud Shell account, which I created for this particular bash. Okay, so that particular storage account I have. Let me query this storage account via my partial. Let get Azure storage RM account. The storage account is name. Get the details about it. Run this. Not recognized. If you have your doubt, like it's not able to run your particular commands, then you can just go directly here and try to search in your Azure RM, because you have everything installed. But sometimes what can happen, you would be using certain commands, and this commands mode functions may be outdated. So in that case, you can go and go to Azure RM. Should be Azure RM VM somewhere, or compute. Azure RM compute. I'll be searching something for this. I don't have something like this. Okay, we are talking about storage. So let's go to storage. rm.storage. Yes, let's search. Yes, it's there. You can see get Azure RM storage account. It's there, but it's throwing some error. Okay, let me add Azure account. Set. Let me set the default. Set Azure RM storage account. Let's see. Storage. Let me try to run this. Maybe I have started installation that is causing this error. Okay. Yeah, maybe that is the issue. Let me try with just Windows PowerShell. Let's see if it passes or it just blocks my yes, first set Azure account. Just run. Okay, so you can see like I have ran a query for this one, get Azure RM storage account. Okay, the ISC could not process it. Maybe it had some issues with the partial modules which are getting installed. I just ran the same command here, and the output is this. Like it would give you all of the details about that particular storage account. We have queried for this particular storage account. Okay, name is this, and resource group name was this one, complete name. So this gives where exactly it is, when it was created, and where it is tagged. I have given a personal tag, customer's tag, something called as bash storage account, do not delete. So you can see the tags like this. The use of tags are like this. So I've created a tag, something called a bash storage account. You can create a tag and assign a tag a resource like that. You can put it as do not delete, so that even if your co-colleagues are working on it, on accessing the same subscription, they may accidentally delete a resource. If you have something like this, do not delete or enforce policy that they can't delete, or they can do just read operations, that would be helpful in in protecting your resources. So that's enough for today. And tomorrow we'll be starting up with the module 2, that is Azure Virtual Machines. Okay. And let me know what are the doubts you guys have till now. Yes. Any doubts?
Yeah, Girish, Madhu here. Yeah, so
Yes,
in the next session, we are going to create VMs. In that case, my understanding is we need to create a VM account, resource group, and then we can create instance of any VM. So
all these things VNets, those things, we will be creating them. Yeah.
So this session is whatever we had till now. Is it like an overview of all the things, and we're going to start the working from scratch tomorrow, or how it is?
I mean, these are also useful, whatever we talked about. Like, you need to know what is subscription, you need to know what are resource groups, then only you will come to know, right? You will place a VM once you know what are resource group. If you don't know importance of resource group and you would create, it won't be possible, right? So till now that was the first module which we covered. Okay, we have such modules like let me show what are the different modules we are going to cover. So we have something called as the sheet which we have shared, right? Okay, somewhere we have DevOps. You can check out that Excel where we have Azure fundamentals. Okay, and I hope this one. Yeah, so this what we covered in module 1.
Okay.
So you need to know how to make calls, how to use PowerShell or CLI. Okay, so these are all basics. These would be useful in further sessions. Like we will be creating a virtual machine using PowerShell or CLI or via Portal itself. Okay, like that via using templates itself we would be using. Okay, so we'll be talking about Azure virtual machines. We'll talk about networking. We'll talk about Azure storage. We'll talk about Azure identity. We'll discuss on PaaS as well.
Okay.
We have I have estimated this to be around 9.30 hours, but I hope this would be getting projected to 24 hours right now. The pace we are going ahead. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Anything else?
Yeah, and actually, so to get hands on what you explained today, so we definitely need the recording.
Yeah, Praveen had recorded. What I did, I have created something called as file share on Azure. Okay, so the file share is local file share you do across your organization, right? You guys know, right? File share. I have created something interesting file share here. Okay, the Azure Guest STG. Okay, in Azure Storage, right, we have some features called as files as well. We have something called blobs, tables, queues, and files. Files is like you can create a file share server. Okay, I created something called Azure Course File Share. Okay, I can,
Mm-hmm.
I can share this particular share, and Praveen can post his, upload his content here, and from here we can all, access via file share, like something. File share would be like there, right? File, something called a hash you do, and you just access it as it's a drive. You can access in that way. Okay, but
Okay.
we have some issue with this, like you need to open 445 port and other port numbers, okay, for this. So that's again, like